Okay, so I'm recording this really late. There's a lot of construction and stuff going on outside my apartment. I think somebody might be taking a chainsaw and chopping down the trees, and then the apartment behind me, there's some other stuff going on. I think they might be setting up some furniture. It's okay, it's no big deal. I'm not really too ticked off about it. Either way, we have ourselves some stuff to go about with the Detroit Red Wings. Now, firstly, yes, we do have ourselves the very first preseason game of Detroit heading over later today. This will be done at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, so 5:30 p.m. PDT over here in Vancouver. And if you take a look at the lineup, you can see a whole bunch of names that a lot of people are kind of interested in seeing. We want to see what Mitchell Stevens can do, whether or not he can break into a bottom six center role. We have Taro Hirose over here wanting to take the next step. Michael Rasmussen, Giovanni Smith, Bobby Ryan. We love Bobby Ryan. Kirill Tutiev is over here too. Definitely want to see what he can do against a Chicago Blackhawks preseason roster. On defense, Roenick, Lashoff, Sabrango, Osterley, Cotton, and in net you have Grice, Pickard, and Caden Fulcher. However, you will notice about Game 1 of the preseason, we have ourselves a lineup that does not include our two video subjects here today. Lucas Raymond and Moritz Seider are both not playing. And the thing is, it's just kind of how the Red Wings like to do this. We've seen this in previous years where the Wings will have some days where they play a lot of the big names, other days where they completely sit them all out. So for the Red Wings, I think if you want to go out there and get some Raymond Seider action over there in your hockey games, might have to wait till the next or maybe even two preseason games later. It will probably be the next one instead of two, just kind of preparing for the worst case scenario over here. But I do wanted to give just a quick update on Seider and Raymond, because I've been pumping these guys' tires for the past, year or two? So why go out there and stop now? Because if there's any time to go out and start pumping these guys' tires even more, today's the day. We had ourselves what was a Detroit Red Wings training camp earlier this week that was an absolute spectacle to watch for those who are fans of Seider and Raymond. With all the footage that was made available, we saw ourselves moments in the organization where Seider was just kind of being a beast. 1v1 drills with Raymond, shoving the guy off of his footing and fighting for pucks, sending them away. We saw the clips of Seider and Raymond just goofing off, where Raymond is just feeding Seider one-timers, and he's just burying it with a hard, quick slap shot. And it's honestly kind of interesting just seeing how that went down, because I didn't realize that Seider's slapper, his one-timer, had been so polished up at this point. I never really saw him as that kind of guy, you know? Mostly because in his draft year in the DEL Adler Mannheim in 2018-19, if you remember the scouting report that we made about Moritz Seider back in 2019, you would remember that I specifically said that it's kind of strange how this guy plays in the offensive zone. He just kind of stays at the blue line, he doesn't move around, and he only starts to skate when the puck comes the other way and he has to go on the back check. It's like they really went out there and put the training wheels on Moritz Seider, telling him, okay, you're going to be a defensive defenseman right here. We don't want you to do anything offensively. And that's kind of what happened. You can see it in the numbers. He was great at producing everywhere else in his career up to that point, but Mannheim and the DEL were like, yeah, we know you're good at offense. Let's work on your defense right here. It's going to affect your draft stock a little bit, or at least in theory it should have, but we think you'll be better for it, and better for it he was. He learned the defensive side of the game, and sure, he hasn't been perfect. In this training camp, you saw yourselves some bad Moritz Seider clips in some of the scrimmages and all that, which shouldn't be taken as too seriously, because, I mean, it's the first hockey that a lot of these guys have played in months. But still, Seider was developing a profile that was catered to being all around, and even though I said at the beginning that in theory his draft year should have pushed him down draft boards, which it certainly did based off of the public reputation of these scouting lists, it didn't in the eyes of Yzerman. 6th overall, taken by the Red Wings. He goes over to Grand Rapids, he goes over to the SHL, and now he is here as pretty much a lock to be the right side top 4 D-man, right? I mean, is there anybody who's going to doubt that? I like Stetcher as much as the next guy. I like Hronik too, but you got to give room for Seider this year. It's definitely time to see this guy shine. Either way, though, we had ourselves what was all of the great stuff going on with Moritz Seider and all the coverage that has been given over onto training camp, but I also wanted to talk about the other guy that Seider had been kind of paired with a little bit in a lot of these clips. The guy who was setting him up for one-timers, and the guy that he shoved off the puck in that defensive 1v1 drill, Lucas Raymond. Because even though Seider did get the best of Raymond in that 1v1 drill, Raymond, after being pushed away by Seider, was still able to stand on his feet and compete. He was able to go around and slip and slide his way through, trying to do things, and he was just never really caught off guard. Lucas Raymond is in a position where, just taking a look at how this guy has played in the scrimmages and in the prospect games and all that, he has been so astronomically good, because his awareness of the game is just so polished. You know, players that just have that gift of being able to know what you need to do at a given time and doing it flawlessly? Lucas Raymond does that. He's got hands of silk and he can deke the pants off of you, but if he doesn't need to do it, he won't. He doesn't force anything. He just kind of knows what the best course of action is at most times and just executes with no questions asked. Offensively, defensively, it's why Steve Yzerman said that Raymond could be an elite player in this league, and I mean, Yzerman doesn't really say that about a lot of people, so you gotta go out there and get your chops when you can, right? Furthermore, we had ourselves this quote over here from Jeff Blashill, and believe me, it is a little bit, weird, but either way, Jeff Blashill says 2020 first-rounder Lucas Raymond's impact on the Red Wings exhibition games has to be great for him to make the roster. It should be clear to my wife that he should be on the team. And he clarifies it's not a slight on his wife, because she knows hockey. This is one of those things where it's like, yeah, it sounded a lot better in my head before I said it. And, yeah, I think partly because it's on Twitter and because it's a text format, we don't get intonation when we read this out loud over here. It kind of messes with the perception of these comments over here. But either way, Lucas Raymond indeed needs to have a great exhibition preseason over here in order to make the roster. That's not a surprise. However, Blashill's like, yeah, he's been so good that it's clear to my wife, who knows hockey as well, that he should be on this team. And it's kind of funny because whenever you talk about Raymond making the team for the past year, it's never really been a guarantee, you know? It's never really been, okay, Raymond is going to spend another year in Frölunda, he's going to dominate, and then he's going to come over to North America, be in the top 6 for the Wings, and do everything we want him to, right? Now, I know it's a little bit difficult now because Larkin, Vrana, these guys being out for an extended amount of time, and then we also have Tyler Bertuzzi not going to be playing certain games in Canada because he's not getting vaccinated. There are, at the very least, going to be forward opportunities for guys outside the top of the lineup to show themselves off. And if Raymond doesn't end up starting the year in the NHL, he's in Grand Rapids and he's doing all right over there because we know the Red Wings love to take their time with development. It's not really their style to just drop a guy into the NHL right away after a year. Then we might be able to see some opportunities for Raymond over here. You gotta remember, though, as well, there are some services like Oddshark, for example, the main hockey betting service that publicizes odds on social media. They believe Raymond is one of the top guys for the Calder this year, and since we noted that the Calder is pretty much a points race, there is going to be some semblance of point production within that prediction, right? So, if Lucas Raymond is, I don't know, sometime down the line going to be the Grand Rapids star who puts up a point per game for the first quarter of the season, he gets called up because Vrana isn't back or because Bertuzzi isn't here and they're going off to Canada. He plays in the Red Wings top 6 and he does well, and then he sticks in the lineup the rest of the way through. That could honestly be a pretty cool story, and one that I think everybody should be excited for because it's kind of possible. You know, like, I don't know if he's going to win the Calder. It's not even guaranteed that he's going to make the team, but if he does make the team out of training camp, he's going to have to be astronomically good. Everybody in our live streams always asks me, oh, do you think whatever could make the team? Would you be surprised if whatever makes the team? Would you like to see somebody who is not expected to make the team make the team? Not for the Red Wings specifically, but for anybody. Montreal, Vancouver, all the other teams I cheer for. This is my philosophy on that. If you have a player that you're not expecting to make the team, it's a good thing. Because it means that that player overperformed. It means they exceeded their expectations, and it means they performed better than somebody that we thought was going to be on the team instead, therefore showing off that there's a lot more depth in this team than we thought. Either that, or the player that we thought was going to be on the team in replacement of the initial player is just performing worse, but that's not really something we want to go out there and discuss because we want to talk about positive things, talk about the good in the hockey world. So for Lucas Raymond and Seider, today is not their day to be playing. They're not playing the Blackhawks, but there are indeed some very good things to talk about with them as well. Talk to me in the comments, though. What do you think about Seider and Lucas Raymond over here? Do you think he makes the team? Raymond, that is. Seider's going to make the team. There's no questions about that. Do you think Raymond makes the team? And if he does not make the team right away, if he does suit up for the Wings rings at some point in 2021, 2022. When is that? 50 games, 60 games, 20 games, 30 games? Talk to me in the comments. What are your opinions? Hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.